I haven't heard any other artists describe the feeling of being out in nature, sitting down or standing up to capture something that grabs you emotionally. I feel like this is the most wonderful feeling in the world.
You didn't start out as an artist,
No?
really. You started out doing some, what we would call industrial films, educational films.
Painting had really come earlier in my life. I was doing it for fun. You know, my mother would say, oh, paint me something. I miss the Alps. And so I would. And it was just something I enjoyed doing, but it was never intended to be anything more than pleasing my parents.
You do these wonderful little quick sketches. How much time do you spend on some of these?
Not very long, 20 minutes or something, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. These sketches are pencil sketches, color pencil sketches. And the reason I went to color pencil sketches because taking my paints became a real pain. The airport security doesn't like oils, and they don't like oil paint either.
You did this wonderful quick sketch. It's along the Seine.
Yes.
And then it goes to a color sketch.
Yeah.
And then I assume you came home and you did the final piece. What's the size of that piece?
40 by 30.
And the quick sketch, 6 by 8, 8 by 10?
5 by 7.
5 by 7s, okay.
Yes. And the small pencil sketches are even smaller than 5 by 7. They're like 2 by 3. So one of the other reasons for doing small sketches is that you don't have a chance to do any details. I mean, that's really the object of it. You must decide on the major masses, and that is it. There's no reason or no room for detail. And so starting with people who are just starting out has always been a real pleasure and stuff to tell them what I've learned and what I think is important.
My best friend, King Kong. That was the very first movie I ever saw. I was 3 years old. My parents brought me to the Reseda Drive-In, and I think it did damage at a genetic level because I've been nuts about dinosaurs and this movie ever since. So in 1981, my book, The Dinosaurs, A Fantastic New View of a Lost Era, came out, and that revolutionized the way the public saw dinosaurs. I'm also crazy about monsters. I am in the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. So there is a little family portrait there. And this was the first semi-legitimate bootleg. This was for the group The Yardbirds. The very first movie I ever worked on was a film for the Firesign Theater called Everything You Know Is Wrong. This is probably the most famous image I've ever created. This was the poster image for the film Wizards. It was an animated feature directed by Ralph Bakshi. And he came to me and he said, Bill, you know how films have principal actors? I said, yes. He says, our film is going to have principal corpses. So one of the best jobs I ever had, I was hired by Landmark Entertainment Group to design a Wizard of Oz theme park for Kansas. This was a ride that they let me write and design, where you get in the hot air balloon and the winds sweep you away and you get captured by the flying monkeys. This is Jurassic Antarctica. This big dinosaur with the funny crest there, that's called Cryolophosaurus. It was the first dinosaur found on mainland Antarctica. 5 different scientists through the weekend would pull me aside and point to this painting and say, I know exactly where that is. My favorite music in the world is the blues. Blind Willie Johnson has a song on the spaceship Voyager. Aliens ever come across the spaceship Voyager, they will hear his song, Dark as the Night, Cold as the Ground. This is the Nosferatu poster I did for Mondo. There's a self-portrait. This is my first mural. I did this for the Houston Museum of Natural Science. That's the biggest painting I've ever done. It's 14 feet tall by 34 feet long, and it shows San Diego Bay 2 million years ago. I usually close with this image and with my own personal philosophy, which is that we have not inherited the world from our parents. We are borrowing it from our grandchildren. Thank you.
Christopher is an individual who has had to really burrow in to the mindset of his clients, the public, the setting that these works are to be presented. It is not easy. This piece was quite interesting from the front and the back. With some of the detailing that you put on the back of this piece, some of that inspiration brought to the Enduring Heroes piece that you did later?
Good point. I didn't consciously think of that, but I do know that people do like this level of detail and like finding more things in it. So yes, I'd have to agree with you. The whole idea of sculpture is to touch, and to wall it off and say, no, don't touch this. Because that's the greatest thing about bronze as well, because the oils in your hands can cause damage to marble. And so many of the great marble sculptures that were outdoors are now indoors for safety, whereas the bronze ones can stay out in public. In public art, how do you show the public, this is what we honor? This is what, as a society, we want to say, very good. People will often say, well, they wouldn't have wanted this kind of recognition. That's not their call. As a society, we choose what we decide to memorialize and what we decide to say is the character that we want to be developed within our country. It gave our soldier and enduring heroes the entire classical bent of what it means to go to war, what it means to fight, what it means to have a country.
Gosh darn it, you're heroic for wanting to put up with these various committees and trying to break through and do all that. Absolutely. But more importantly, we're going to be looking at some of Peter's work. He's a renowned traveler, and of course we'll be sharing some of that. And we'll be looking at how all of those travels and introductions to different religions and peoples around the world have influenced his artwork. Your parents had a real interest in art, in production. They were both involved somewhat in the film industry. You were really, at heart, a California guy, and you spent a lot of time at the beach surfing, and you became noted fairly early on for a series of beach paintings that you did, and you still have a love for seascapes.
Oh, I love it. It's just part of my nature. To paint something that's full of sunlight is so exciting. So walking into his studio or his atelier was like walking back 100 years in time. It was just beautiful with all kinds of antiques and objet d'art around. He was a wonderful colorist. He was a great draftsman. This is an example of the kind of drawing that we do. This is a death mask. You're not actually dead. And so you get a good image of the face, and it would be a good subject matter to draw from and learn values. And
the more I talk to you and the more I look at your work, I keep thinking if Joseph Campbell were an artist. What was the most unusual place you painted?
probably inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Ah, we're going to be looking at that.
Which is, the sepulchre where Christ was supposedly rose from the dead. But also it has inside the church the mountain of Golgotha, or Calvary, where he was crucified. And they locked me in at night, and so I was there by myself.
You're just not a bystander painting these. Someone who is truly devoted is going to get what this is about. You went all out for this thing. You brought in camels.
We did
boggling.
reenactments at the old mill here in San Marino, at our house in Pasadena.
And also up in Malibu.
And we brought in 3 camels, 2 horses, and a donkey.
I always look forward to seeing the things you come up with and the unique opportunity to stop by at your studio and the very unique opportunity to have you come by and be a part of the conversation in the Atelier.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you.